Hey everyone, Shirtthany Stain Tano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. Let's talk about an interesting and apt headline and story that I am seeing around. Coldplay to pause touring until concerts are environmentally beneficial. Coldplay, famous rock and pop outfit, concerned for the environment, concerned about carbon emissions. Not a bad thing. Reading into this, it looks like the band are not going to be touring behind their new record, and they are going to, I guess, wait until either better options are available or they figure out themselves the logistics of doing a tour that, according to Chris Martin, actually has some sort of positive impact. And while on the surface, reading this, the whole thing seems really woke. And as someone who personally cares, I feel like I care about the environment. I try to drive as little as possible. I recycle everything that I can. I eat vegan. I want there to be less carbon emissions in the air. I want there to be less natural disasters as a result of climate change. I want the world to be as livable as possible for everyone longer than what is currently projected by climate scientists. But in my estimation, this is likely the worst possible way Coldplay could be going about addressing these environmental issues, raising awareness. Because if this whole thing is about spreading awareness, let me tell you, people are going to forget about this headline in a week. So that doesn't really matter. Mostly because a vast majority of carbon emissions globally, when we look at the numbers, are linked back to just about 100 corporations. Now, of course, these companies include oil and gas companies, and this study that gathered these statistics take into account what individual people do with the products of Exxon or BP once they purchase them at the pump. And if I were more cynical, I would maybe make the argument, well, that just sounds like a personal choice then. If you don't want there to be as many carbon emissions in the atmosphere, then maybe you shouldn't be driving. Maybe it's your driving that's causing the whole problem. Maybe it's just you breathing and existing and living that's causing the issue. If this is really our worry, if this is really our argument, if this is really what we think is the through way to save the environment, going down here to see this graph, this pie chart, carbon footprint of a tour. The venue has a carbon footprint. The audience traveling has a carbon footprint. It's the merchandise. It's the promotion. It's the accommodation. You're essentially making an argument here for eliminating all entertainment to save the environment. Close the movies and record stores and bookstores to save the environment. Stop going on the internet to save the environment. But this argument only makes sense when you look at this whole problem on a micro level and not a macro level. Because consider the technology that we could or do have to lessen our dependency on oil and gas. It's not like it doesn't or couldn't exist or couldn't be more widespread or more affordable, especially when we look at documentaries like Who Killed the Electric Car, which I know came out in 2006. It's an old documentary at this point, but the players who put us in this situation, who are addressed in this documentary, are still at play today. It essentially covers the numerous legal and economic roadblocks that car companies, oil and gas put in the way of the existence of the electric car, the success of the electric car. All because keeping things as is and lobbying for the status quo was more profitable. So the situation that we're in now, as far as our transit needs, our consumption of oil and gas, is 110% on the shoulders of these 100 companies and others connected to them too. This is the world they wanted, and they got it, and you're living in it. So again, while I think and I hope that Coldplay here are just well-intentioned in their efforts to put less carbon emissions into the air, that's all good and fine. I get that. I still think that sitting there and doing nothing, essentially, is not the right move, because it tacitly buys into the nonsensical argument that this larger societal issue can be solved with individual decisions, even if those individual decisions are being made by a platinum-selling band, which it can't, because this issue wasn't caused by 1 or 10 or 10,000 bands going on tour. What we need, instead of doing nothing or limiting our consumption of food to 1,000 calories of lettuce a day, is a serious and an organized fight for change, not on the individual level, but on the government level, on the federal level, on the collective level. And I think Coldplay can play an active active role in making this happen by touring. Do a tour, play arenas, sell thousands of tickets. And when you do, encourage your fans there at the show to vote for political candidates who support green initiatives, support the Green New Deal. Encourage voter registration at your concerts. Have a booth. Allow activists to have a booth as well. Canvass at your concerts to spread the word, create consciousness on this issue. Maybe take a large portion of the profits from the tour and put that into climate activism. Hopefully Coldplay decides to do something a bit more ambitious than what I think they're doing right now, because the change that is going to be required to actually turn things around environmentally needs to happen sooner rather than later, and it needs to be kind of big scale, large scale. It can't just be a group of guys in a popular band patting themselves on the back because they had a zero emissions tour. Something that most artists out there can't really afford to do, because only a few musicians out there actually make as much money as Coldplay, giving them the financial means to actually pursue something like a green tour. Look, I want to top this video off by saying that I think what the guys in Coldplay are doing here is well-intentioned. It's not evil or anything like that. I just don't accept, nor should anyone accept, this overemphasis on individual choice when it comes to the destruction of our environment. Because the reason we're in the current dichotomy that we are is because of corporate profits, lobbying, special interests. It's not because you, as an individual, thought it was a great idea to ruin the environment. So selfish as to drive yourself to work this morning. No, that is not the reason the world is dying. The world is dying because the people at the top want to continue making money in a particular way. They don't want things to change. They don't want things to shift. They want those profits coming in the same way they have been for generation upon generation. And really, that's it. It's really that cut and dry. And there are much better things I think Coldplay could be doing to create activism around these issues other than just not touring. I'm going to leave it at that. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Coldplay, not touring, the environment, forever.